Ready? This is Mo Bashir for The Hook, and delighted to be joined by Sonny Edwards. Sonny, firstly, how are things?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you for asking. Yeah, we're all good, just here, head of the press conference. Another fight week, world title card, Josh Kelly, Matt Zeliev, got Brad Leon on the card, working on comms as well, so another fight week.
Nice. I wanted to touch upon that. Obviously, you left the sport. Was the business side of things always something that you wanted to go into afterwards? And if so, what were the reasons why?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see myself ever doing any other industry than boxing. At certain points, I've pretty much done anything and everything that can be involved. Obviously, my management career started when Thomas Asomba, he fought me, then was my sparring partner for a world title fight, and then he asked me to manage him after I won the world title. And yeah, I came to Steel City as well. Started off Piers Goodjohn's training career, professional training career, should I say. And yeah, the ball sort of just rolled from there, snowballed. And I'm always around boxing, I'm always around boxers. Most of my friends are some part of the industry. I've spent since 9 years old, the last 21 years, looking at boxing, studying boxing, going to boxing, watching shows, competing myself, supporting my friends, etc. So, and I've always tried to learn all the lessons in front of me. I've tried to not be ignorant to anything that's happening or think anyone's special because of whatever reason. Just, apply the practical basics to boxing, and then sort of trying to translate what I know in the ring to prepare for a fight, and then learning the game of the business side of it. And because I was very involved in my own career, obviously my brothers, Lyndon Arthurs, as well as many other friends before I started managing fighters, it was just almost like a natural progression. And I play a role in the team. I'm not any fighters full-time only manager. I work great alongside Lee and for a few fighters, and now more Anton Fitzpatrick, who was my manager from day one till the end of my career. And yeah, we've got a great community, a great team, some very, very good fighters. And yeah, like I said, I can't see me going anywhere else. I love boxing, I love fighters, I love delivering opportunities for fighters that are putting in the hard work and deserve them, and attempting to try and help the fighters coming through avoid all of the many pitfalls that lay waiting for you.
You mentioned Anto Fitzpatrick there. You mentioned that he was a good manager. I feel like a lot of people either go into management because maybe they had bad management throughout their career, and they see I don't want to treat my fighter the way I was treated, and they go into it. But it seems like from your experience, Anto Fitzpatrick was quite good, and you maybe wanted to carry on that baton going forward to the fighters that you represent.
Yeah, because he wasn't just like my boxing manager. He was a friend, he was a mentor, he was a counsellor, therapist when I needed. He was everything in my career. If anything ever happened in my day that I didn't know how to handle, which happens for a lifetime of a boxing career, the one and only phone call I made was to Anto. And if anything, him looking after me has shown me the standard that I believe that all fighters I work with must be upheld to. Good representation, honesty, transparency, and unwavering loyalty. I think that we've been working together regarding my own career and other fighters' careers now for 10 years, and there's not many relationships that last 10 years in boxing. Trainers, fighters, managers, friends even. It's very rare how fickle the sport can be sometimes. But to have him beside me, and to really, the way I consider it, I work underneath him. He is the Rolls Royce when it comes to boxing management and dealing with negotiations, dealing with fights, building a fight up, maximising leverage, etc. Playing the game as well, not upsetting the apple cart when there's nothing to gain, picking your moments. I've had a very, 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 very good teacher in everything in the business side of the sport. And now it's on myself and the rest of the team to pass those lessons on. We don't try and keep our fighters, in the unknown or in the dark, and we're just doing everything for them. We're doing everything for them, but at the same time, we're highlighting things, we're teaching them lessons, we're we're looking at some of the other jobs that some of the other people are doing, some of the other fighters, and we're, commenting on it between us, just to learn, to develop, to analyse, to explore, and it's a passion of mine. Management really is the passion of mine now. Building and developing fighters, seeing them go from young kids coming through with a dream to building them into champions, headlining in their own right. Like right now, that's a dream of mine. I'm lucky where I've got access to some very good fighters. Obviously, the commentary and fighting myself definitely helped that. But to be working with some of the fighters that I am already in such a short period of time. Obviously, 2025 was my first full year as a boxing manager, commentator, whatever else. But I've got 15 now, 16 because I've signed another one. A few more fighters I'm meeting with this week, and a few more that we've got our eyes on. Try and cap it off of myself, being involved in about 20 for the time being, and just doing the best for them. And so far it's going good.
On that, how many, in your view, like, I see it in football, right? A footballer earns a lot of money, and with that it comes a lot of people surrounding them that maybe aren't good for them. If you were talking from like, how many people do you think need to be around a boxer? So obviously you're the manager. From like lawyer, is it a good lawyer, a good accountant? Like how many? Is it a group of 3, 4? And then after that, you don't really need anyone else.
It all depends. Obviously you've got a fighter. Then you usually got their friend that's been with them from before, and now they're bringing them along because they like having their friend around them. You might have the S&C guy, you might have the nutritionist, you might have a photographer, videographer, you might be a lawyer, it might be a financial advisor or something. It sort of depends organically per fighter. I think the biggest mistake you can have is letting too many people in and not properly vetting them on the way in, because it's very easy to get close to a fighter and start spinning their head or everything when you don't know the full picture, and all of a sudden a place or position of someone they trust is giving them ill advice on big parts of their career, and all of a sudden they're scratching their heads 2-3 years down the line and wonder where it all went wrong. And it can be quite simple, boxing, but it's very, very complex. And the one thing about boxing is that everyone just thinks, I could do that, depending on what it is, whether it's commentating, whether it's media, whether it's fighting, whether it's managing, promoting. People look at themselves and they think,
just send me the running
I could
order
do
when you
that.
get a chance.
And in boxing, all you've got to do is convince one fighter to sign something, a piece of paper that says that they've got some sort of, jurisdiction over you, and then all of a sudden they're in boxing. And that's how easy it is. But I'd say 90% of professional boxing, people that work here, don't know much about boxing. They know what they do, and they can maybe run up something what they do, but they'll have massive flaws. They don't know about matchmaking, they don't know about how dealing with brands, they don't know about a lot of things. That's why you just got to keep learning, keep doing your best, focus on yourself and your team, and just leave the rest to themselves. A lot of fighters try to come to us after maybe they've trusted someone else with their career and then realise why they shouldn't have. That's happened a few times, but at the same time the door's not always open, because no one likes being a second choice, second option. So really, really, really good stable of fighters I'm working with right now. Blessed. Just behind us we've got Leo, Brad, the likes of Giorgio, Vicioli's, Ishmael Davis, Bobby Flood's about to have his debut, Monty Griffo brothers. There's so many of them. Ed Hardy, Darnell Sterling, Chris Malunda. I'm working with some really, really, really good fighters.
The fact that
Derek Osadolor having his professional debut, heavyweight, senior ABA champion from a couple of years ago, having his debut this weekend as well. I won't be able to be there because I'm here, but yeah, man, we're busy and we're delivering for our fighters as best as we can.
Is it just you in the management agency? You're working with a couple of other people as well?
Oh no, so I work with Anton, and I work with Lee and on some fighters. The first few fights I worked with Lee, and his role in Queensbury became a lot more prominent, and since then every fight I've worked with Anton, we work great together. He's very strong in the areas that I'm weak in, and I'm very strong in the areas that he's weak in. There's nothing but loyalty and honesty and respect, so we work together really well. Neither of us, so I don't know, I'm here a week with Leo, start tapping into him, trying to get him away from Adnan. We don't work like that. That's where typically a lot happens, You'll have a new manager, he didn't really like that trainer, so now he's in the fighter's head, getting him into his trainer, and then when it all starts unraveling backwards, you start seeing things for what they are. But we got a tight knit group. The same faces stay around, and we're picky. We don't just work with anybody. We don't just represent anybody. And you know, I've had managers that would probably be considered by some as some of the premier managers offering me to go co-management deals with them with good fighters. I'm talking good fighters that have gone on, and I knew were good fighters at the time. Because I'm so picky, I couldn't do it, because I wouldn't want to start cutting myself up all of these different ways. You know, for me right now, how I see it, me and Anto, it's us two sort of against the world with a wide network around us, of people that we work with and get on with. But yeah, you've got to be picky in this game, because you know, you let the wrong person in, all of a sudden he's tapping into your other fighters, getting into their ear about you, and you know, I can only see it from the conversations that you hear back from what you're there for. So yeah, it can get like that, but in our little corner, I don't think we have that to worry about.
In your view, then, what makes what separates a good manager from a bad manager?
For me, a good manager is one that fights for the fighter. For me, a bad manager is one that befriends the promoter. I would say more than half of active managers, especially ones that you see on any of the shows, are so far in the promoter's pockets that they can't represent their fighters in the appropriate way. It's all right when, you know, the promoter says, oh, go sign that fighter, you sign them on a less percentage, then you take them straight to the promoter. Firstly, you're doing them a disservice because you haven't let the other promoters have a look at them, first of all. Then they sign, you know, first couple of years when it's just all easy and yeah, you're fighting for that against him. It's when the promoter now wants to accelerate it faster than what the fighter and trainer does. And then the bad manager for me is not the one in the middle that's negotiating both ways, that's on the fighter side. No, this is what we want, this is what we need, this is why we need it, and this is why we're not moving. Instead, you'll have a manager that's listening to the promoter, getting told what to do, so it doesn't really matter what the fighter's saying, and then you'll have a 2-hour phone call with your manager, and they'll be still telling you the same thing that the promoter wants, and yeah, we're going to have to do this, because, and they're just going to try and do it as nice as blag your head way as possible. For me, that's a bad manager. Now, a lot of those managers will get fighters, they'll get TV slots, and they'll have some form of level of success, because they're charging less money, so they'll get more fighters, and they've also got the guaranteed work from the promoter. However, bad manager, because in 15 fights time, or 12 fights time, or 17 fights time, when a fighter and a promoter are miles apart on an opponent, or an amount of money, or a route, then all of a sudden you've got your manager who's meant to be your guy, reading off the same hymn sheet as the promoter, and selling you down the river for sure. And that's just what happens right now. And look, I work for a promoter. I'm comfortable to say that. Why? Because I know that no relationships behind the scenes are ever going to make us disregard the best interest of the fighter. It's just the way it is. And if people are going to fall out with you over that and be difficult in the future, then so be it. But so far we work with all the promoters, we've got fighters with all the promoters, and when we get an exciting prospect come through, we pitch them to all the promoters. We don't just go, oh, we've signed him, let's take him to our mate and make sure we've got him a contract and then sign him straight up, and now they're going to look after us and put him in all the slots and prioritise him and yada yada yada, because then we're in-house. Like a lot of the managers right now that are regularly at every show, they're in-house managers, and for me, that's the worst type of manager you can have as a fighter. For the promoter, that's the best. Do you know what I mean? When you understand the business of boxing, you understand that boxers here, promoters here, and the manager's in the middle dealing with the conversations both ways. However, the manager has to be on the fighter side, otherwise what are we doing here? Surely it's the person that gets in the ring that deserves the most respect. Surely it's the person that's risking their life every time they step foot the ropes. Surely it's the person putting on the sacrifices, eating all that food, doing all the sessions with the sparring. Surely it's that person in that short window of their career that needs the best representation, and not because I'm a manager and I want the easiest job and the most money coming through on a conveyor belt, I'm going to just align myself with a promoter or two and just do whatever they want, do their bidding for them. I know fighters that I've signed, that whilst I've signed them or just signing them, managers have found their number out of thin air because they've gone into promoters' offices and got this fighter's phone number to then go and get him for that promoter. And that is just the business. And when you look at it like that, you start seeing things a bit differently. Not everyone that smiles is your friend.
Yeah. Do you think with Zuffa boxing then, do you think like that could be quite dangerous for the fighters? Because obviously, you see, the reason why I asked is because when I was looking at it coming through, you obviously it sort of looked like the UFC model. Well, it is a UFC model. You know, the fighters came out, they wore Zuffa branded shorts. There was no individuality. The only thing that they could change was like I think their socks and their boots. Do you think like maybe that's exerting too much control?
Potentially, and without offending everyone at Zufar, because every corner of boxing I would be willing to work with, and if it's the best for the fighter, it's the best for the fighter. So they definitely could be the best for some fighters. However, it's sort of rebranding the business of boxing a little bit. It's remodeling the business structure of it. We have the governing bodies we have, and we have all the promoters we have, and the boards of control that we have to protect the boxers and to make sure that no one in boxing has too much power. Now, for the Muhammad Ali Act to still be able to exist, you cannot be someone's promoter and their manager. It's not allowed. Why? What was going back to the last conversation? Bad manager is what? One that's just up the arse of the promoter. Why? Because when a promoter and manager in cahoots, all the same person, who does that boxer go to ask for a pay raise? Who does that boxer go and ask for a slight different variation or a change, or that opponent instead of that one, or getting a date? Like, who do they go to? If their manager, their promoter, and their promoter's already told them no. You need a strong manager. The biggest, most important thing for me for a fighter coming through is having a strong manager that's really on your side. And I think a lot of fighters fall for the quick couple of meetings, blow smoke up your ass, going to make you a superstar, already got your contract, yada yada yada. They sign away, and it's not until they start going to all the fight rooms and seeing how differently the people representing them are getting treated compared to the other one. It's like, okay, you might bend over and get your ass, slapped to make sure that you're fighters and you're making money. But that vibe is still going to carry on into every conversation you have. The promoters aren't going to have to respect you as much when it comes to the hard conversation.
What's your one piece of advice? Well, it might not be one piece, because there's probably loads of things you could say, but what's the most important thing? Say you've got an inside fighter, he's been approached by 2-3 managers. How do you, I guess from a fighter's perspective, right, they want to go and make it big, but they might. Boxing is it's a dangerous game in the sense that, if you don't fight for too long, you're not earning enough money. So how do you balance that, getting fights with a manager, but also having the risk of not getting the fights, without a manager?
Yeah. Well, the good fighters usually have a few managers after them. That is usually what happens, and then they usually having a few different conversations, and it's usually who they like the sound of and the vibe of better. And some managers go down the approach of, you're going to be a superstar, we're going to get you this, lip service. Once they get you on the pen to paper, if they deliver that, did anything they ever promised really, or did they start promising, delivering, and then it sort of fell off? Like, you're not going to know until it's too late. My first thing would be to look at what they've done, ask the question that they've actually worked with, and then also other people in the industry that they can know to get other opinions. Obviously, that's not going to be perfect, because someone might not like someone that's really good, and vice versa. Someone might really like someone that's no good. But my biggest thing is, if they're promising all these things, because when we sit down with fighters, we're not promising the world. Our promise is that we're gonna work hard for you, and we're going to do our best to deliver. And if we can't deliver, we'll know before you do, and we'll tell you straight away. We won't keep you stringing along. That's our promise. Never promoters, 3, 4, 5 year deals, superstar, world titles, big sponsors, because you can promise that, but until you've actually got it as a deliverable, then who knows if it's ever going to happen. So you're just lip servicing to tell them what they want to hear, and then pushing down the line. We'll undersell, over-deliver every single time. Ask the fighters, ask the managers who they've actually worked with, who they've represented, what they did to build them. Because, some managers was given a fighter by a promoter, so really they're the promoter's fighter anyway, and now they're basically just turn up to fight weeks. So they've not really done it. They've not really done anything. But now they're telling you about all the success of all the stuff that they've done, but they never actually built no one from scratch. They never built someone. Like, my manager took me from flyweight, division no one cares about, no promoters interested, took me all the way from earning £1,000 for my first fight, not selling no tickets, to headline in America, world titles, unification fights, world title defences, 8, 9, 10 headline shows across different network. So we know how to build from nothing to something. You get a blue chip prospect, there's always going to be a certain amount. There's always going to be a certain amount of things at the table waiting for us. But, work with the ones that can build something from nothing, and then if you're something, you've got a much higher top ceiling, I think. You need the right matchmaking. You need the right team around you. You need to be steered away of all the falling potholes that are laid out in front of you, and new ones are getting added constantly. Yeah, I think it's the biggest decision that a fighter makes. So, and it's not just a week or a month. You get locked in for 2, 3, 4, 5 plus years sometimes when you sign a contract. So, yeah, just make sure you know what you read, and if they're promising anything, and that's the reason why you're signing, make them put that on paper. Make them write that on a piece of paper. That's a deliverable. If you're signing with them for that reason, if they can't put it on paper, then what's talking about?
That's a great piece of advice. Sonny, I could chat to you for ages, but I know you've got to shoot. Just a quick word on Leo Tang and Brad Casey. How good do you think these guys are?
They've got a long way to go, for sure. Two very, very good fighters, very good foundation. Leo's shown his explosiveness, his athleticism for such a young age. He just turned 19 yesterday. None of his opponents have made it to the second minute of the fight yet. He's just going for him. And this one again is meant to be like the last couple. That's meant to give him a couple of rounds. We'll see on Saturday. Brad the same. Brad's done very, very well since his debut. Very active, very busy. He's not signed to a promoter, but he's fought on the Matchroom of Queensbury, a boxing card. Now another Matchroom one. Looking to have something lined up as well for the next few months. So, yeah, his activity is key. Development, learning. I think Ash Martin's doing a great job of him down at the Legions Gym in York, and there is something bubbling up in that neck of the woods. And I genuinely believe Leo Atang's going to be the future of the heavyweight division. I think what he can do and the capability that he possesses, I think if he doesn't make it to a very, very good level, then it's us that have done a job wrong. And that's how much I believe I have in it.
Perfect. I think that's a great way to end. Sonny, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. Thank you.